Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
I wasn't brought up religious, so though I did go to church when I was young, but I didn't stay like that for long. My home life was really good. What I used to do is just go around my backyard and just start digging holes. Other than that, be creative and just through all the junk that was inside my garage at the time, my mum's garage. We had a lot of furniture and a lot of ornaments and stuff in there. I used to just make a base of operations in there for me. It was really playful in there, you know. I could do my own thing in there. I pretend I was on a spacecraft and everything. I had some really good times in my youth. And I was going to church a lot with my mum. We used to go to Fisherman's Net, they call it. It was in Papakura High School. We used to hire out the hall. And yeah, I used to go there. I didn't really understand much back then. I didn't really understand their concepts, you know, the Trinity concept and the whole rituals of things. I just went there for the hell of it. Play, fun, eat, and friends. But as I grew older, I grew out of it. I stopped going there. My auntie and my mum used to try and push me there. I didn't really want to go. They tried to put me into the cross. I didn't want to. My force was too wild, so I didn't want to go there. And as I grew older, I got introduced more to the evolution theory. That was the Darwinian's theory, evolution. I became an atheist. At that time, I didn't have much proof about God. But later on, I went down the wrong path. This path led me to some bad things, and I got introduced to drinking, you know, drugs and stuff, and the wrong crowd. And that happened for a few years, and then I was able to get out of that. It didn't come with its own problems though, but I was able to get out of that, alhamdulillah. And I started reflecting. I mean, because when I was in that bad state, I had come across a lot of funerals. And I went to a lot of tangis, and there was a lot of mourning there. And I used to think, you know, what happens? I mean, when I started thinking about it, I started contemplating a lot of things, especially the creation of the universe. It couldn't be so simple as the self-enjoyment. I reflected through all my memories. I realized that in those 21 years of reflecting, over my whole 21-year course, within 30 minutes or less than that, I was able to remember as much as I could. I thought if I add another, you know, probably add on another 40, 80 years on top, depending on how long I live, if I max it out, like 2-3 hours worth of memories in one lifetime. And I was thinking, it's a very short lifetime compared to life itself. You don't get much out of it. I used to love listening to Tupac. I mean, for me, at that time, he was my icon. And I didn't take his words as literal, saying like, I should follow that. But I took them as guidelines. In a way, you could say he was a prophet. I was trying to live the way he lived, trying to follow his sunnah. And I started following what his beliefs were, his belief in Jesus, peace be upon him. And then I started looking up through Jesus, you know, like what was Jesus like, and what was his teachings. And then I found that I knew then that they led to the Christians, but I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to go to that direction. I've got nothing bad against Christians. I got friends. One of my beloved friends are Christians, but I just didn't want to go there. I knew what it was like, and I started dwelling into Buddhism. So I went into Buddhism because of that. Started practicing Buddhism and started becoming a vegetarian. I was bigger than this, much bigger. I used to be much thick-skinned and blacker, and wow, I was pretty big. But I've shrunken now because I was a vegetarian when I was practicing it. And oh man, this came with some struggling hours of meditation, though they did help. I mean, I was able to how would you say it? Like, control myself, like almost relax. I mean, because at that time I had some worries on me, and meditation kind of helped. Really did. In Buddhism, you don't believe in God. You don't have the belief that you're worshipping a God or anything. But as I found the breakaway where it broke off from, I found Hinduism. So I went to that. And I knew they had thousands of gods. I followed another path from Hinduism, which was Hare Krishna. And I went into that. I went into Hare Krishna movement, and I started practicing that. I started reading these scriptures about Sankara, Buddha, and how it said that he secretly believed in Krishna. So then my belief started going towards God. I started believing in Krishna. Started doing the chant, and logically to me at that stage, for God, my understanding of him was one. That was it, one. Simple as that. Like, I didn't understand him to be 3, 2, or more. It doesn't logically make sense to me. I mean, I didn't even know about the Christian concept of the Trinity until after I became a Muslim. I didn't even know they believed in 3. A few months after practicing Hare Krishna, I was going to the internet cafe to play some games with my friends, and I came across a Muslim brother there. And he gave me dawah, or if I can remember correctly, I had questions. He told me about Islam, which I could not take in. He was telling me, he was giving me a whole rundown of it, and I couldn't take it all in. And yeah, like, I was like, wow, so you have Jesus inside your religion? I was like flabbergasted. I was like, because I was following Jesus in the beginning, from Tupac. And it seemed to like they had a belief about Jesus which was different from the Christians and any other sect out there that preaches about him, peace be upon him. And I started looking at this concept. I mean, like, what does the Qur'an say about Jesus? And he was showing me on the internet, like, because it's better to scroll through the internet faster than it is because he didn't have a Qur'an on him at the time. And I was looking at it, and I was like, wow. I was looking at the verse in the Qur'an where it talks about Mary. May Allah be pleased with her. And Jesus. For me, understanding it was really easy. It was like very simple. That, like Jesus was not God. I mean, it made sense. After that day, my brother there who introduced me to that chapter gave me a Qur'an. And at the moment, I'm ashamed to say that I had that Qur'an, and for a few months I didn't bother reading it. I had it tucked away in a plastic wrapper in my mum's bag. She looks after stuff really good in that bag. You'll find a lot of things you probably lost, and you find them in that bag somehow. And yeah, she looked after it for like 6 months. The reason why I'm ashamed about it is because I regret that I should have opened that book much earlier. I would have become Muslim a long time ago. What I knew about the Islam that I thought I knew, it was terrorism and the bombing. And the stereotyping that was in my head, this was what it was. Yeah, I started learning more about Islam and its teachings. Though I myself at that time, I don't think I was really ready to accept. For me, it seemed like everything was leading in that path to Islam. I mean, I had a friend that was Muslim. The path, the religion that I was looking at choosing was Islam. This hobby that I was getting into was going in that track. So I walked into a masjid al-Taqwa, which is in Monaco. And alhamdulillah, I thought this person was going to speak in another language, but he was speaking in English. Within the first 10 minutes of me walking in there, I just knew it. I was going to become a Muslim. I was waiting for him to end. I just seen everyone. I was walking in, so I walked to the back of the masjid. I walked to the back. I was wearing, what I thought was normal clothes. And I had a little, what do you call it, like a Maori necklace on. And then one of the brothers approaches me, and he approached me and he said, "Hi." No offense, but we don't wear necklaces of any kind in here. And I was like, "Oh, all cool, all good. I'll take it off." I took it off, put it in my pocket, and then I whispered back to him, I want to become Muslim." And he looked at me. And he gives me this nod. I was like, "Okay, what's this mean?" So he goes back. He tells me to wait there, brother. And then he moves up closer to the imam. And after the whole session's finished, after the lecture's finished, he tells the sheikh, tells him that a new person, a brother wants to become a Muslim. And he announces it to everyone. I was like, "Oh!" I was like, "Oh no!" Everyone's looking at me. I was like, "Oh, what does this mean?" I took my shahada. Sheikh Anwar said, "Wow, that was easy." Like after I had said it, I think I pronounced it properly to what I could hear correctly. And he said, "Wow, that was easy." And I was like, "Wow, this was easy." And then I looked around, and then Sheikh Anwar gives me a hug. And then Abdullah Aziz gives me a hug. Then I look around, and everyone's standing in line to give me a hug. Oh, so I've never had so many hugs ever. And alhamdulillah, I was on a Jummah day, so the masjid was packed. It was a few days later, after I became Muslim, that I chose to speak to my family, my mum and my brother, and tell them that I was Muslim. I told her, "Mum, I've become Muslim." She just looks at me. She gives me this look. She had seen me practicing other things, and she probably just thought it was a phase I was going through. Yeah, I started treating them better, especially with words. My vocabulary was really bad. I'd always swear every 2 sentences out of habit. It was part of my English at that time. I later realized it was because of the music and things I was being introduced to. As soon as I got rid of that, I realized that I wasn't really saying all these bad words anymore, So I realized that music played a really big part in my character. So I've gotten to know my mum much better now. We talk a lot, much more often now than I was before. My family's all good with it. In fact, they're very supportive. But the kids they love to hang around me a lot. For some odd reason, I'd talk to them, they start hanging around me a lot. And I'd have like this big crowd of kids hanging around me. So when it came for prayer, I remember this one time I came for prayer, I went to go and pray in private. And most of the time when I got up, I had my eyes closed to try and concentrate, because there was a lot of things going on at that time, a lot of noise. And so as soon as I had finished, I seen all these kids just watching me in the same position that I was in. I was like, oh man. And I think the parents seen it. My uncles and aunties, they all seen it. And we don't want our kids to go down this road. And they didn't tell me in person, but my uncle came to me and told me in private, if you could do it someplace private. And I said, how private do you want me to be? I thought I was in a far east spot where no one could see. And these kids, I don't know how they found me, but they found me. And they said that they started practicing what I was doing in their home. And I was like, whoa. I didn't know it had much, I didn't think Salat would have a big impact like that, where you're just told out of nowhere that these kids, they're copying you, now they're doing it at home. Wow, that was trippy. But now Islam's come into the picture. It's I'm utilizing that time to benefit me. At the moment, my learning of Islam is very slow. But I'm still learning at a pace that I feel comfortable with. I really haven't had much problems. I mean, it hasn't really affected me much. Islam has affected me on a good scale, like where I should utilize my time, how I should look after others and all that. But it doesn't stop me from doing all the old things that I used to do, apart from the music or the bad things that may influence my character. I still dress the same. The fasting, the praying, it's done good for likewise how hygienic and being clean. I got better friends now than what I had before, and that's also changed. My living environment, I guess. And the friends I used to have come over were really bad. My mum used to always give bad reviews about it. I'd like to say it's changed me a lot. Plus, I think for intellect-wise, I'm learning a lot on another language, which I've always wanted to learn. I mean, I never got to learn my Maori when I was young. My mum brought me up away from it for some reason. Not purposely, but I don't think it was in her interest at that time. May have slipped her mind for a few years, but hey, what can a mother do? You know, she's bringing three kids up by herself. Though she brought up a few more before me, my older brothers and sisters. Through that realization, I knew how mum really was important to me. Because before, I mean, pre-Islamic, before me, I did not even think about what my mum had done for me, my brother. And yeah, I'd like to say my relationship with my mum is much closer than it was before. And I think this is one of the biggest benefits, is to be closer with your own family through the teachings of the religion. Yeah, Islam can offer a lot. Say, for an example, looking after the environment that you live in. If people could learn, like, say for an example, looking after plants and trees and stuff, Islam, teaches that they have rights to look after the trees and stuff. You don't cut them down without reason, or the sick, the poor. You find you're stingy with your money, or you feel like you go bitter on yourself, but you're running in excess of too much stuff. Like material stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that too much materialism will make you crazy, but like having too much wealth can make a person think that he's got it all. When really that stuff doesn't last long, I don't think the word happy can express it fully, but I truly am happy that I am a Maori and a Muslim at the same time.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.